Most respected Thai, dear sisters, good morning. Today I shall speak in English, but we will begin with a Vietnamese song. Tiếng Nhúng ở đâu hả? Đây hả? Ok, chị em bắt dòng dùng á. Vào ngày mới lòng thanh thanh. Mọi người hát theo. Lòng thanh thanh. Dear Sangha, today is the 22nd of September in the year 2020, and we are in the Assembly of Stars Meditation Hall in the Dharma Nectar Temple. We're going to listen to 3 sounds of the bell. Dear sisters, I've been asked to speak about the basic practices of Plum Village, and so we will start in general, and then we will go into the details. If we talk in general terms, we could say that the basic practice of Plum Village is uninterrupted mindfulness, and that is in Vietnamese like chánh niệm miên man. I think miên man is a Chinese term. You can write for us on the board? No. Okay. So then it's also in Vietnamese. It means constant, uninterrupted mindfulness. So our different practices are to help us keep alive mindfulness during the day. And that is what we can call applied Buddhism. Applying the teachings of the Satipatthana Sutra throughout the day. And all our practices are to help us do that. Today we will begin by talking about the practice of gathas. It's so nice to hear the rain. We listened to the sound of the bell, but we also listened to the rain. And I hope last night that the rain played lullaby for all of you to be able to sleep well. Because I heard these past days some people did not sleep too well. But don't fall asleep in this talk. If you can help. If you do fall asleep, it's okay. Don't make a big effort to try and wake up, because you'll just get more tired. I think we all learned that. So this is can you read this? Is it big enough? Yes, you can read, okay. Can you read? More firm? It's okay. So, Myanmar, this is Chinese Sino-Vietnamese. This is Sino-Vietnamese. Really, I should have put Myanmar Chan Niệm. So I'm writing this also for our Chinese-speaking sisters. Miên Mật là tiếng Việt hả? Rồi. Trong những cái lớp mà mình có sắp tới thì xin đừng có mất thì rằng khi Chan Duc viết Hán Việt thì mình phải chấp nhận thôi, đúng có sửa làm tiếng Việt. Rồi, nhưng mà nếu Chan Duc viết tiếng Việt mà sai thì xin sửa. Rồi, thank you. Okay, so really I should have written Myanmar Chan Niệm. But anyway, I wrote it like this. So here we have mindfulness, and here we have right mindfulness. But in English, when we use mindfulness, we have to understand that it is right mindfulness. So one of the things going to help us practice is our practice of gathas. Now this is a Sanskrit word, and it comes from the verb gayati, or the root gi, and gayati means to sing, to dance, and then it comes to mean to recite the sutra in a musical way. So our gathas are kind of a song. A gatha is a little poem. When I was talking about guided meditation in the new Hamlet, I talked about the two hemispheres of our brain, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, and how they have different functions, and how in the practice of guided meditation and in the practice of gathas also, we need to use both of our hemispheres. And the right hemisphere has more to do with images and poetry, images in poetry, and the left has more to do with words and with numbers. So when we have a gatha, we have both those aspects. We have the words, which can be understood by both hemispheres, and then we have the images. And this helps us to practice in a way that involves our whole brain, not just part of our brain, because we don't want the practice to become something intellectual, just intellect alone. We will get tired. Using our intellect uses a lot of energy, but using the store consciousness, it uses less energy, so we don't get tired. So when you were a novice, if you're no longer a novice, you had to learn the gathas off by heart. And if you're not a novice anymore, my question for you is, do you still practice the gathas, or did you give it up when you became a bhikshuni, or you became a Dharma teacher? For me, it's very helpful. The practice of gathas is very helpful. We know that our uninterrupted mindfulness relies a great deal on our breathing. And with the practice of the gathas, we can use our breathing. It's easier in Vietnamese, but it's possible in English. Because in Vietnamese, the gathas are 4 syllables to each line, so your breath can stay more or less the same. But in English, it's very good also. I can also use my breathing when I practice in English. So, we look at a few gathas. We'll start at the beginning of the day. When I wake up in the morning, I often don't feel too good. I have to admit that. I think when you're young, maybe you feel good when you wake up. So the first thing I need to do is to smile. That is, to me, is very important. And I need to take a bit of time to smile, and smile for a bit of time before I do anything else. And then I like to follow my breathing and remind myself that I have a new day. In the original gatha, you say to yourself, 24 brand new hours. The important word for me in that is brand new. And I don't need the word 24 so much. I need the word a brand new day. It helps me. So I smile on that. And then of course I vow to look with the eyes of love. It's wonderful in the morning to be able to nourish the seed of love in you. I think this is another function of gathas that we need to be aware of. I find in my own practice that when I just follow my breathing, sometimes my mind can slip into a negative way. And if I'm not careful, it will keep going on that negative path. And one thing that the gathas really help me is to look at what is wonderful in life and look at what is positive in life. And if I practice the gathas in the early morning when I don't feel too good, it really keeps my mind buoyant, afloat, and positive. So that is another reason why I have kept practicing gathas for all this time. And then, of course, I can continue to water that seed of love in me when I put my feet on the ground, looking for my slippers, by visualizing the ants and other insects that will crawl during the day, and making the vow not to step on them. Or if I do, can they be born in the not suffer too much. Huh? Yesterday I was trying to catch a mosquito to put it outside, thinking maybe tonight I don't need to use my mosquito net. And I didn't catch it in a very skillful way. And I squashed the mosquito. So I was immediately, when that happened, I thought, oh, I read the gatha this morning. So, the gatha came back to me in that moment. Hope the mosquito I don't want the mosquito to suffer too much. So sometimes that happens. And then, of course, we have to go into the bathroom. We have a gatha for urinating. Of course, we also want to practice walking meditation. We have the gatha. Trên mặt đất là thể hiện thành thông. So walking on the planet Earth, I realize a miracle to accompany each step. And then in the bathroom we have the gatha for urinating. So this gatha is something like urinating in the ultimate dimension. What a wonderful exchange. And we exchange this water, we drink the water and then we exchange, we send the water back and then it will evaporate and come back. Yeah. What a wonderful. And then it says, and I like to practice you and I are not two separate things. And I like to say the Buddha, you, the Buddha, and I are not two separate realities. Because the Buddha used to urinate. And sometimes we think that urinating is not something very Buddha nature. But in fact, the Buddha can be there. The Buddha in us can urinate. When I went to India with Thai for the first time, we were on the mountain, and Thai, usually you follow Thai everyone. Thai said, don't follow Thai, want to urinate on the mountain. And then afterwards, Thai also said that the Buddha used to urinate on this mountain. So that is why when I read the you and I think of the you and I as being the Buddha, to remind me when I urinate, to keep my Buddha nature alive, to be happy in the present moment. Maybe have a sound of the bell. I should have made my bed by now, huh? But sometimes I make my bed a bit late. I'm in a room on my own, so yeah, that is not something I learned when I was a novice. You should make your bed tidy straight away. Otherwise, anyway, I won't tell you what I was told. So anyway, now I'm going to make my bed tidy. Folding the blankets, making, what a joy folding the blankets. That is to keep our mind buoyant. And joy folding the blankets, making life tidy. Yeah, when we make our room, our surroundings tidy, we feel happy. Restraining body and mind, the afflictions fall away. Restraining our body here just means practicing mindfulness with our body, practicing the fine manners with our body. That's what we mean by restraining body and mind. Restraining our mind means not letting our thinking go down paths we don't want to go down. And then we can be relieved of our suffering, the afflictions fall away. This is encouragement for us all. Last spring, I watched a video, a documentary, and the documentary was about water. And after that, I had a different relationship with water. I hope that I will keep that relationship with water. Since I was a child, I was taught to recognize how precious water is, because our water came from a spring, and when there was no rain for a long time, the spring would dry up, and so we would be short of water. But that was just a matter of keeping enough water. It wasn't a matter of having a relationship with water, a kind of loving relationship with water, which I more recently learnt. And it then that I appreciated very much the gatha, which is water comes from high mountain sources. Water comes from deep in the earth. And before I just used that gatha, but I didn't feel the depth of that gatha. But now when I watched that film, which showed that the molecular, what do you call the molecular construction? No, the molecular construction, Structure, thank you. The molecular structure of water, is influenced by our consciousness. And it's not so much the minerals or the content of the water but it's the structure of the water. And therefore, if we have loving thoughts, the water's molecular structure will be different when we're in touch with it than it is when we have hating thoughts. And when we have gratitude, the water's molecular structure is also more harmonious, more complete than when we don't feel gratitude. So this is what helped me to practice more mindfulness when I'm using water. And I can't say that I'm perfect and I do it every time, but I do my best whenever I am in touch with water. So then I start to sing, Water comes from high mountain sources. Water comes from deep in the earth. Water flows and flows for us. My gratitude is overflowing. So sometimes, if you like, you can sing your gathas. You can sing better than me. People say that when I sing, it sounds like they're in an Anglican church or something. So you can make a different music. I remember that Thai used to say in the early morning when Thai went into the bathroom, Thai would turn on the tap just so a few drops would come out. And the water is very cool. And Thai would put the water on Thai's face and be aware that this water was once snow on the Himalaya, on the Himalayan peaks. Those few drops of cool water. And sometimes it's not so easy to turn on the tap and just a little bit comes out. So what I do is, I have when I wash my face, I have a little bowl I can use. And then I can really be aware of the water in that bowl and washing my face. I can keep that water to wash my hands later on because water is so precious. Clean water is so precious. So what is washing my face? I clean my mind, removing all the dust. The source of peace and joy fills my whole body. So washing your face, you feel the joy go through your whole body. And rinsing my mouth, I also rinse my mind. I also clean my mind. And the universe is fragrant with flowers. I want to purify the three actions of body, speech and mind, so I can enjoy the pure land. And to enjoy the pure land, to enjoy our beautiful planet Earth, is to enjoy the pure land. And when my thinking is not pulling me away into negative things, I can enjoy my pure land. I don't have to have done many good things in the past to have enough merit to enjoy the Pure Land now. I just need to be there with my mindfulness, and the Pure Land will manifest itself to me. People ask about this question of merit. So we have quite a lot of merit already to have the practice. And all we need to do is to apply it. And then we can enjoy the fruit immediately. We don't have to wait till we die to go to the Pure Land. So these little images of flowers are intended to keep our mind buoyant, to be able to see the positive things in life. However much our planet is suffering, and of course when we wash our hands we are very aware of that. I wash my hands that all may have hands skilled to protect this planet Earth, to take care of this planet Earth. So when we wash our hands, of course we are aware that planet Earth is suffering. But we also recognize there are skillful hands that can help. And there are still flowers. Talking about flowers, you know the gatha for washing your bowl? It always interests me, this gatha. Washing my bowl in the historical dimension, I look at myself and smile. What are you doing, my dear? A flower, a rosebud is blooming over there. So I often think, what has the rosebud blooming over there got to do with the washing my bowl? And I realize that this is poetry, and the meditation is poetry. And I imagine that, you know, when Thai comes into the kitchen and asks you when you're cutting carrots or when you're washing your bowl, what are you doing? And you say to Thai, I'm washing my bowl. So the answer to what are you doing, my dear, is not I'm washing my bowl. It could be a rosebud is blooming over there. That is kind of meditation language, what we would say, Zen language. It's like when your meditation master asks you something, the answer doesn't come from your intellect. The answer comes from your store consciousness. And that kind of answer means that I'm really there, and there's something fresh in my heart about to bloom. And the Zen master, the meditation master who asks you that question will nod the head. Yeah. So in my, of course there are, when we practice gathas, there's something that helped me a lot into the introduction to gathas. And Thai explains that they're like signposts on the road. The different gathas are different signposts. So you're going along the road, and then you see a signpost and you say, oh, it says giraffes or something. I have to turn right here. And so when you see that signpost, you turn right. So what that means is that you practice one gatha while, for instance, you're washing your face. But then when you finish washing your face and you rinse your mouth, you see the signpost, that is the next gatha, which is to rinse your mouth. And so you start a new gatha. You don't keep the washing my face gatha going when you're rinsing your mouth. So we have to recognize the different signposts, the different gathas. And there are many things we do in our daily life which don't have gathas. So we keep our mindfulness alive all the same. And one practice I like quite a bit this is mindfulness of standing up, huh? is often during the day I have to bend down and pick something up, a book or something I drop. So in the Satipatthana Sutra, in the part of mindfulness of the movements of our body, there's the thing, when the practitioner bends down, they know they are bending down. And when they stand up again, they know they are standing up. So this mindfulness of bending down and standing up is something that I learned when I was practicing with Tibetans, and I continue it today. So after everything in the bathroom is finished, I have a wonderful opportunity in the lower hamlet to be able, except for this morning, to walk to the meditation hall under the starry sky. And that is very wonderful. Actually, walking in the rain is also wonderful. But especially the vast starry sky. And it always reminds me of that first walking outside in the morning. It always reminds me of what Thai says when explaining the verse, what is that? The deer. The deer roam freely in the countryside. The birds fly up into the sky. And then the next line I translate a little bit differently. Those who discriminate rightly take refuge in the Dharma. And the true person enjoys nirvana. Yeah. And Thai said, to be a true person enjoying nirvana, you don't have to wait many lifetimes. It's like in the morning, you're sleeping in your nice warm bed, and then your brother in your room or your sister in your room says, hey, the bell has been invited, it's time to get up. So you take off your nice warm blankets and you put on your robe and you go and you step outside and you touch the fresh morning air. You see the stars in the sky, and that is nirvana. If you are attached to your warm blankets, then you miss the chance to be in touch with nirvana. And then when we come to the meditation hall, put your hand on the door if it's not already open, and entering the meditation hall, I see my true what? My true mind, my true self, my true home, whatever true thing you want to see, as long as it's part of you, help you to come back. Once I am seated, the disturbances stop. And to be able to stop at the door and to be able to breathe, or if there's a big queue behind you, just to step inside and to be able to breathe and make that resolution that now I am in a little bit different space, and it's very helpful for me. There's one other thing that I do before, usually unless I oversleep, and that is practice the 10 mindfulness movements. So maybe this is a time, as we're talking about basic practices of Plum Village, to look at the 10 mindfulness movements. The older I get, the more I appreciate them, because they are so easy to do, and when I do them, I always feel a little bit rejuvenated. some of the more fancy exercises I did when I was younger, I don't really enjoy anymore. So every morning before I go outside, I just like to do the 10 mindfulness movements. And Thai told us one winter retreat that these movements come from an English philosopher, Herbert Benson? Herbert Benson, that's right. Herbert, Spencer, yeah. Herbert Spencer, yeah. So that philosopher I really didn't know very much about. Apparently he was very famous in England at the end of the 19th century. So he must have written about mindfulness movements so that I read about them. I really don't know how that happened. Anyway, Herbert Spencer, he was self-educated, and sometimes he was very avant-garde, and sometimes he was the opposite. And anyway, he changed a lot during his life. So at some point, these 10 mindfulness movements were invented by him. I don't know where he got the idea from. But Thai changed them a little bit. So now the first thing is, and something I always need to learn, is how to stand properly. So when we learn the 5 manners, we know we're not allowed to lean on something when we stand, and we have to stand straight with our feet together. But we often forget. So do I. So to stand properly, your feet should be flat on the earth. All your toes should be flat on the earth. And your weight should be evenly distributed on your feet, not more on your heel, more on your toes. And the next thing is your knees. Your knees should be straight. You should pull up your knees. And your thighs is the next thing. And your thighs should be contracted. You contract the muscles in your thighs. The same is true of your buttock. And your spine, straight, with your head straight. What else? And then your neck vertebrae straight. And then your hands by your side. So before you start the 10 mindfulness movements, it's good to be standing properly and to remind people to stand properly. When Thai first introduced the mindfulness movements, I think it probably was in 1987. I'm not sure. Sometime around about there, 1987, 1988. And I remember every time we went on walking meditation, we would stop if we were in Lower Hamlet, we would stop in the plum orchard, because then the plum trees were very small. And so there was plenty of room for you to stand, do the 5 mindfulness movements between 2 plum trees. And now you couldn't do that. There's not enough room. The plum trees take up the room. So we would always stop and practice the 10 mindfulness movements with Thai. And Thai taught us some things which, when I look around now, I see that maybe are forgotten. Although it's true that Thai changed the 10 mindfulness movements in more recent times, but I think the basic principles stay the same. So, in Thailand, when I was in Thailand, we used to practice the 10 mindfulness movements every morning before, as a whole Sangha, before we practice walking meditation. Okay, so I just go through them and just remember what I can from what Thai taught. Do you want to stand up? Or would you, if you don't want to, it's okay. 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 Am I in the right place? Có được không? Cô đứng đây có được không? Okay, now we're standing properly, huh? Feet together. In the first three movements, the feet are together. Okay, breathing in. Now this part is you keep breathing in, but you really stretch in front of you. So you feel your arms are being pulled in front. Okay, and then breathing out. Okay, and the second one, I'll just do one time so you can. The second one, you also keep your feet together and stand like a mountain. And then breathing in. And the important thing is to really stretch, to feel your arms being pulled up to the sky. And then breathing out. Take an in-breath, and then on the out-breath, like this. And on the in-breath, I used to say, stretch to the horizon. Again, you really need to stretch. And then like that. And then your arms down. And at this point, you change the position of your feet so that they are the width of your shoulders. And this circle, I used to say, you should include the whole cosmos. So it means make the circle as big as you can and your arms straight. And then you do it several times in one direction and then the same. Feel that you're including the whole cosmos. Okay. And so the next movement is also one where you breathe out, and you bend forward, touch the earth if you can, and then breathing in, you stretch, and I always used to say, stretch your abdomen. So in all these exercises, you'll notice that your arms remain really straight, and your legs also remain straight. You don't bend your knees when you do we left that one out, did we? Did we do that? We left it out. Okay, so this one, your feet are apart, So this one is same. What you're moving is from your waist to your head. You don't bend your knees. So, breathing in, and breathing out. And then on the other side, and out. And I tell you what that is good for is your what do they call? Kidneys, Yeah, that is, so you really, when you make that movement, make it in such a way that you feel you are helping the circulation in your kidneys. Okay, now we come back to this one. So this one, you're breathing in, and you really stand on your toes. And as you go down, you really keep on your toes. Don't put your heels on the ground. And then come up as you breathe in. Okay, that is wonderful. I used to do that exercise many, many times because it makes you feel so good. It's a demi-plie. So the next one is breathing in. You keep your legs straight and breathing out. And breathing in and breathing out. And that one also, the mistake people make is they point their toes up, and the toes should always be pointed down. Yeah. So now we do on the other side, in, and out. And then the next one, if you have room, breathing in for half the circle and breathing out for half the circle. And then when you do the other way, in and out. So some people go very fast, but you need to go breathing in, breathing out. Then coming back the other way, breathing in, breathing out. And this one, breathing in and breathing out. In and out. And also your toe always pointed down. Last one. So when you do this exercise, the important thing is to look at the horizon. You don't look at your hand. So you breathing in, you just look straight ahead. And then breathe, and you bend this knee and keep this knee really straight. In and out. Yeah. And your arm is like this, you don't have to do anything like this. Right. And breathing in and out. No, you don't need to do that. And in and out. Just by your side. Right. Thank you, dear Sangha. So now when we practice, I introduce the new thing with the mindfulness movements. For instance, when you do the exercise, when you lift and you stretch your foot in front, you don't put your foot down on the ground after you've done it once. You do it for as many times as you like, 3 or 4 or 5, and then you only put your foot down. And the same with going around like this, with your leg. You do it all in the same direction, 3 or 4 times. And then 3 or 4 times in the other direction, and then the other leg. Yeah. So we'll listen to sound of the bell. So when I came to Plum Village, we didn't have the gathas in English. We only had, we may have had one, like breathing in, I calm my body, breathing out, I smile. But we didn't have the book of gathas. They were only in Vietnamese. So I learnt the gathas in Vietnamese, to practice them in Vietnamese. And then I helped translate them into English. And now I'm thinking about my sisters who practicing in English. And I think that we need to find the essence of the gatha, the essential thing, and kind of make it into, or practicing in French, make it, or German or anything, make it into four lines that we can really profit from. There's gatha for putting on your robe, putting on my robe in the ultimate dimension. All these gathas, ultimate and historical dimension, they're wonderful, wonderfully poetic, and they really help you to embrace the beauty of the present moment as you practice them. Putting on my robe in the historical dimension, I adorn myself and my environment. The Pure Land is in the palm of my hand. The mountains and the rivers create. But so that is a poetry. Help us be in touch with all that is wonderful in the universe around us as we put on our robe, but at the same time we stay closely in touch with our robe. And we see that our robe is also a creation of the universe, just as we are. So I would very much appreciate, and it could be helpful for you, if it's not, don't do it, but to describe your practice from the time you wake up until the time you arrive in the meditation hall. And what do you think can be improved? And you do that for yourself. And if you want me to read it and give you feedback, I'm happy to, but you don't have to show it to me. I was asked to leave time for questions. I don't know how much time we have. 2 minutes, huh? Five minutes, huh? Okay, can anybody give a question that will take not more than 5 minutes? Anybody have a question? No? Không có câu hỏi hả? Hỏi tiếng Việt cũng được. Demandez posez la question en français, ça va aussi. Hein? Yeah, thank you, Sister. Thank you. Would you use the microphone?
Yes. Dear Shiko, I would like to ask, could you explain more about the gatha when we wake up and we shouldn't step on the small animal, and then we hope it will be reborn in the Pure Land.
Something like that.
And then just now you said, I hope you don't suffer too much.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bit difficult how to direct my mind when I say, I hope you will be born in the Pure Land. Could you shine some light on that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, dear sisters, when I practice that gatha, it's very important to me, first of all, to visualize the insects on the ground or the other insects that I will encounter during the day. And the second thing is important for me to recognize that they suffer, to have a kind of relationship with those insects, not to see them as a nuisance, but to see them as suffering beings, to help to give rise to my compassion. So I don't use that bit about the Pure Land when I recite it, because to me it makes it too complicated, and not suffer too much is my way of saying that I don't want to cause suffering to insects. So my main idea is that there are a lot of insects, and that I want to have a good relationship with them, and I don't want them to suffer. I don't want them to suffer. Yeah, and to me that's enough of that gatha. I don't need anything more. But if any of our sisters find that it's useful to the last part of the gatha about being born in the Pure Land, and they would like to describe, please do so. Yeah. 1 minute.
Dear Suko, this is a discussion I had with a friend about breathing when you recite the gatha, and for things where you're not moving, like if you're lying in bed, it's quite easy. But I was saying if you're sweeping the floor and you're reciting the gatha and you're trying to follow your breathing, it's like trying to do 3 things at the same time. I was wondering if you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, but the 3 things are going together. It's very important they keep together. For instance, when you sweep the floor, the movement of your arm, it really goes with just like when we did the mindfulness movements, in and out. So the movement of your arm, it goes with your breath. The things go together. So in doing any kind of work, when we use our breathing in order to make it rhythmical. And it's the same when you're eating. I don't often follow my breathing when I eat, but it's possible to chew and follow your breathing. It's possible. I do it sometimes, but it's not something I do all the time. So those 2 things, the breathing and that, are going together. And of course the words of the gatha, they are part of the sweeping too, because they're keeping you concentrated on the sweeping. So it should be possible for all 3 things to be in harmony and to flow along with each other. But the movement, it must go with the breathing. And then I think the words, they just will fit in. So try again. But we need, I think some of the gathas in English, we need to make them a little bit more rhythmical, to make it easier to more like a song, to make it easier. For instance, my water comes from high mountain sources, water comes from deep in the earth, water flows and flows for us, my gratitude is overflowing. To me that's rhythmical enough, and it's easy to follow my breathing. But some of the gathas, not very rhythmical, so it's more difficult. Keep your breathing. Yeah. Thank you. Is this a question or an announcement?
Dạ, con kính thưa sư mẹ, ở xóm mới có mấy chị em có câu hỏi ạ.
Ok. Nhưng mà không biết hết giờ rồi.
Chị em xóm mới có câu hỏi. Con thưa sư cô, thỉnh thoảng thì con cảm thấy không có dễ dàng để mà gây. Con xin lỗi.
Không có dễ dàng.
Sometimes I feel it's not easy to inspire some novices to continue to practice gatha. For the aspirant may be easier because they are very obedient at the beginning. For your own experience, what is the element keep your inspiration alive? Thank you, sư cô. Con sắc nghiêm.
I think because they help me, because I don't know, if they didn't help me and I didn't feel any good result from them, I'm sure I wouldn't practice them anymore. So how to practice, how to help your novices to practice in such a way that they're helpful. And that is something mentor and novices, maybe they can do together. Try and write the gathas in a way, if you're having novices who are not Vietnamese, write the gathas in a way that are inspiring for them, and often talk about them and the deeper meaning of the gathas. I think just to see that these poems are to help you be in touch with your alaya consciousness, and they're not an intellectual matter. If you make them intellectual, I think you will get tired of them and not practice them for very long. So more emphasis on the poetry may help. Thank you. Any more questions from the new Hamlet?
Họ đang thay phải không?
Có số mới có thêm câu
Dạ
hỏi
con.
không?
Dạ con thưa sư cô, số mới có thêm một câu hỏi nữa thưa sư cô. Dạ hết rồi ạ.
Hết rồi hả?
Dạ.
Ok, mình nghe tiếng chuông.